Hello and welcome back to Stop and Go F1 for this, our reactions to qualifying for the Imola Grand Prix. And my goodness, we are a week away from the Monaco Grand Prix, but we may have already had the qualifying of the year. Only time will tell, but that was an excellent qualifying session. We'll talk about all of it and more in just 1 second, but before we do that, remember to like and subscribe. And a huge shout out to the members: Dakota, The Joyous James, Robin Myers, Cinnamon Strudel, Michael Johnson, Mr. Eurovision 1986, Philip Doganzik, Flandy Skick, No Edam on Sandwiches, and Sarah Jowett. If you want to become a member, click the link in the description, either on YouTube or a member on the Patreon. But my goodness, as I said, a wonderful, wonderful qualifying session, full of action, full of drama, and it is one of the most important qualifying sessions of the year. We read out these statistics on Friday, but I think it bears repeating again. 35% of wins come from pole at Imola, 65% of wins come from the front row, and it has never, ever been won outside the top 5 in the previous 31 races at this track in F1 history. So a racetrack where overtaking is not impossible, but it is rather difficult, and track position is vitally, vitally important. But as we go into Q1, one of the big stories of qualifying is the brand new tyre, the C6 tyre, which was introduced at testing this year, but we haven't actually seen it at a proper race up until now. This is its debut. It is the new softest tyre. What we saw in FP3 was that a lot of the drivers kind of struggled with it to kind of firstly get it into its working window and then manage to keep it within that window for the entire lap. So what we saw in FP3 was that the medium tyre, the C5 tyre, was actually quicker than the C6, the softest tyre. We do see a bit of this throughout qualifying, but not everyone goes out and tries it. It would be very interesting to see that, but that's a big story as we go throughout the race. Sorry, not the race, qualifying. The big story that's at the start of qualifying, though, is Yuki Tsunoda, who has a big crash. We cut to him, and we can see that the car is very, very badly damaged. And I thought, wow, that must have been a big one. I was shocked when I saw how big a crash it actually was. Thankfully, he was okay, which of course is the most important thing. But my goodness, he gets caught up on the curbs, through the gravel trap, hits the barrier, flies through the air, rolls across the barrier, then lands back down on the ground. He was out of the car so quickly. If you look at that accident, you think, wow, he'd probably sit there for a little bit. But no, he was up and out of the car. Thankfully, he is okay. They said he went to get some medical attention afterwards, which is just a procedure when certain crashes of a certain magnitude happen. They have to go have medical attention, which of course is the right thing to do. But my goodness, yeah, huge crash for Yuki Tsunoda, which starts this session. Of course, that means he sets no time. He will start tomorrow from 20th, but I imagine he will actually start from the pit lane because that's a lot of work needed on that Red Bull car. As we go back to start the session again, Franco Colapinto, it's his first weekend back. Not a great start to his second stint in Formula 1. Firstly, here, where the session hadn't officially restarted yet, his engineer is telling him to stop, and he misinterpreted the signal and thought it was a signal to go, and he drives into the fast lane of the pit lane. We saw this happen a few weeks ago in Bahrain. I believe it was with George Russell and Kimi Antonelli, and they both received one-place grid penalties. So I would not be surprised if Colapinto got the exact same thing. As we get actually into the session itself, we have some tremendously fast cars this weekend. Very close grid, all in all. And we see that immediately from the start. Gasly goes top. He's replaced by Alonso, then replaced by Verstappen. Alonso in the Aston Martin. We talked about this on Friday as well, but a huge upgrade package came to the Aston this weekend. It was reported that it was only on Alonso's car, but that's not true. It's on both of the Astons. And throughout free practice, it looked like there was no change whatsoever. But in qualifying, we see that Aston is not the bin it has been all year. It's actually done quite well. Norris's first fast lap only good enough for 5th place, and Oscar Piastri went second, 0.3 of a second off the back of Max Verstappen on provisional pole in Q1. So the McLaren's not fully up to speed at the start of the session. Norris did have a bit of oversteer and dipped a tyre on the grass. Nico Hülkenberg has an unsafe release, pulling out in front of Kimi Antonelli. That was noted. Then on his lap, his actual proper lap, he has a tyre in the gravel on his last fast lap. So Nico Hülkenberg not really setting the time board alight there. Then we get another crash, another red flag. This time it is Franco Colapinto, very reminiscent of a crash that we had yesterday. Was it Liam Lawson's crash yesterday? It might have been, but very, very similar. Just up on the curbs, tyre in the gravel, tyre on the grass, spun out across the track into the wall. Again, even if he gets that one-place grid penalty, similar to Yuki Tsunoda, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they start from the pit lane tomorrow. As the session ends under that red flag, it gets a bit confusing, but stick with me. So Yuki Tsunoda, obviously no time for him, he's in 20th. Esteban Ocon, 19th, Hülkenberg, 18th, Liam Lawson was 17th, Gabriel Bortoleto in 16th, and at the time it looked like Ollie Behrman just set a lap time as the red flag came out, which elevated him from 19th into, I think he was like 10th, and through into Q2. This then became a whole big thing of when did the red flag come out and who is actually through, because as we come back towards the start of Q2, that was delayed anyway to get rid of Colapinto's car, check the barriers, all that kind of stuff. It gets even further delayed because the FIA don't know who's actually in this session. Bortoleto stays in his car, even though he was 16th. Behrman stays in his car because he says he's gone through. Behrman's time was then deleted because they said that the red flag had come out. We see a replay from the onboard of Behrman's car, which clearly shows him crossing the line. Then, afterwards, the red flag light comes on the side of the track. Now, the commentators got a bit confused because they were looking at the red lights that used to start the race, and they were red because the session was over in terms of the checkered flag was out. The board that actually has the flag was not flashing red yet, and Ollie Behrman had crossed the line. It wasn't yet time, and his time should have counted. Sauber disagree, and they are now ran by Jonathan Wheatley, who knows the rules better than basically anyone else on the grid, and he was arguing that Bortoleto should go through. It was under review for a very, very long time, to the point that Sauber just fully take their trousers down and put everything they have on the table, because they just went, right, Bortoleto, just go out the garage. Just go queue at the end of the pit lane, because we're in this session, and he's not, so let's just go. And I thought that was a big balls move from Sauber, but apparently it pays off because Behrman's time was deleted and he was pushed back down to 19th. Personally, I feel that's incredibly unfair because from his onboard, it's very clear that he crossed the line, then the red flag came out. The argument being put is that maybe elsewhere on the track a red flag was flown before he crossed the line, but how the hell is he supposed to know that? So it's a whole big thing. Either way, at the end of the day, Behrman is out here, Bortoleto went through. That's the end of that controversy there. Right, back into Q2 now, and like I said, McLaren weren't really on it in Q1, but immediately in Q2 they came out the gates and had their full pace. Piastri's first, Norris was second. They were separated by 0.020 after their first fast lap, so real good stuff. Then as we go towards the end of the session, this is when it all gets very, very close, and the Aston Martins roll out on the medium tyres. And my God, it works. Sainz goes top at one point to finish the session. He takes a provisional pole in Q2, if you can count that as provisional pole. Kimi Antonelli gets pushed out then. Then it is the two Astons in the bottom five. And we have Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc in the Ferraris on 9th and 10th. And the two Astons on the medium tyres push out both Ferraris. So as we close this session, Colapinto is 15th, obviously with no time. Bortoleto is 14th. Kimi Antonelli in his home race is 13th. Then we have the two Ferraris, Lewis Hamilton 12th, Charles Leclerc in 11th. The two Aston Martins on the mediums pushing out the two Ferraris. The first time since the Dutch Grand Prix of last year that two Aston Martins will start a race in the top 10. To put that fully into perspective of how long that has been, the Dutch Grand Prix of last year was Logan Sargent's last race. Since Logan Sargent has been out of Formula 1, we have not had two Aston Martins in the top 10 starting a race. We do now. A fantastic weekend for Aston, who may have turned their entire season around with this huge upgrade package. It's looking good. Let's not count our chickens just yet. Hopefully, Alonso can score some points tomorrow. Now, in my preview video, I always do my two predictions. And in my preview video, I said that I think Ferrari would be the 6th fastest car this weekend. Turns out, I was being optimistic. Because from the stuff we have here, Ferrari are the 8th fastest car on the grid. The only cars they beat were the Saubers and the Hasses. So an awful start to the weekend from Ferrari. They're not too far away from the points. They can change everything tomorrow. But as I said at the start of this video, track position is so important here. Overtaking is very difficult, so who knows how this will play out for the Ferraris, but a disaster qualifying in Italy, not just for the Ferraris, but the Italian driver Kimi Antonelli as well. Been built up as his big home race. It's closer to where he's from than Monza is. All his school chums are here to cheer him on. Out in Q2, P13 for Kimi Antonelli. Lots of work to do tomorrow. Let's go into Q3 now, because this was a lot of fun as well. So, as we set our first fast laps, this was not the end, but the first fast laps, this was our top 10. Gasly was 10th, Albon in 9th, Sainz 8th, Alonso 7th, Stroll in 6th, Hadjar 5th, Russell in 4th, and it was Norris 3rd, Piastri 2nd, Max Verstappen on provisional pole. Norris 0.19 off of Verstappen, Piastri 0.049 off of Verstappen, so very, very close. And as we go out for our second fast laps, it's when the intrigue starts to happen. The excitement starts to build. The Astons come out on the medium tyres yet again, and they are joined by George Russell. I thought we would see more drivers risking the medium tyres. I thought for sure we were going to see at least one of those top 3 guys risk it, but they didn't. Piastri, Verstappen, Norris all stay on the softs. As the session ends, this is our top 10 for tomorrow. Gasly in 10th, Hadjar in 9th, Stroll in 8th, Albon in 7th, Sainz in 6th, Alonso is 5th, Lando Norris in 4th, George Russell in 3rd, Max Verstappen in 2nd place, Oscar Piastri in 1st. A fantastic qualifying session with a lot of drama at the end. It seemed like Max Verstappen went quite slow when exiting the pit lane. I don't know if it was his direct aim I don't know if his aim was to create a gap or create traffic for the other guys, but he certainly did a bit of both, because Oscar Piastri had some traffic in the final sector and he thought that might have blown it for him, and it nearly did. Verstappen missing out on pole by 0.034, so very close between the two of them, but Piastri does take pole position from Max Verstappen. George Russell on the mediums leapfrogs Lando Norris to go in P3. Norris, I imagine, will be a little bit disappointed in P4, but, you know, they can still win from 4th. It's just once they're outside the top 5, you're screwed. And speaking of the top 5, that's where we find Fernando Alonso. He hasn't scored a single point all season yet, but Aston have come along with this new upgrade, with the secrets of the medium tyres, and he has gone in 5th. An incredible, incredible performance. Please, Fernando, score some points tomorrow. It would be wonderful, please. Carlos Sainz in 6th place and Albon in 7th. A wonderful result for the Williams team. Stroll in 8th. Again, a great result all round for Aston, who have been absolutely dreadful up until now. Hadjar in 9th is very good, and Pierre Gasly in the top 10. He'll be hoping for points as well for the Alpine team. We are setting up what should be a very exciting race tomorrow. Maybe not one of like constant overtakes, as we've already said. It's hard to overtake here, but what this weekend has proven already throughout the qualifying session, throughout the practice sessions, throughout F2 and F3, is it's incredibly easy for drivers to make mistakes here, and then that's just it. They're out of the race. So we can see that tomorrow for sure. We're going to have a really interesting thing of looking at where the Ferraris and Kimi Antonelli can move up from there. Can Alonso score some points? And what is going to happen into turn 1, Max Verstappen and Oscar Piastri. We know Max likes to get his elbows out into turn 1, and we know that Piastri alongside often will get his elbows out as well. So that should be very, very, very interesting. We're setting up for a wonderful race tomorrow, and of course I'll be here to talk about all of it with you as well. We'll also have all coverage of F2 and F3 as well. All that to come tomorrow. Until then, though, have a good one. I'll see you later. Goodbye.